Hello, happy holidays and happy new year to everyone joining today. Thanks for joining our weekly live stream here on December 30th, the day before New Year's Eve, near the end of 2025. We're here to talk about the ERP Awards. This is a special edition of our live podcast series where we're going to provide some ERP awards. We're going to recognize some of the leading software vendors in the space in a number of different categories. We've got a lot of different categories we're going to cover here today. And hopefully what this will do is recognize some of the great work that software vendors are doing in the digital transformation space, and also help you as listeners and watchers understand what some of the different strengths are of the different systems out there in the marketplace. And at the same time, we hope you find this entertaining and fun, or at least as much fun as we had putting this together. So thanks for being here today.
Absolutely.
Joining the conversation with me is Greg Benton, our Chief Strategy Officer at Third Stage Consulting. Good morning, Greg. Thanks for being here.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you're joining from. Great to be here with you in the beginning of the new year, right? I mean,
yes,
we're almost there, right, Eric? I mean,
exactly.
It's close enough.
For a lot of people, today's the last working day of the year. Maybe tomorrow's the last working day for some of you. But glad you're here to join us and hopefully have a good time with the conversation here today. So, yeah, so this is great. So, Greg, just real quickly, for those that don't know you, tell us a little bit about yourself and your role here at Third Stage.
I'm the Chief Strategy Officer with Third Stage. I've been with Third Stage for roughly 5 years. And that comes from 30 years of a career history of working with our clients on software strategy, selection, ERP implementations. I tend to be a lot more technical in terms of the deployment, but my responsibility here at Third Stage is to make sure that all of our clients find that our services are delivered in the most outstanding way, and that's why I'm really excited to join you here, Eric, today on the awards ceremony for the vendors.
Yeah,
this is going to be very good. So,
yeah,
my favorite categories.
Yeah, this would be fun. We've never done anything like this. I know we do our top 10 lists. We do our independent reviews, our pros and cons of different systems. We help clients select and evaluate all these different systems every day. And sometimes it can get overwhelming just trying to understand and navigate all the different options in the marketplace. But just to give you a preview of what we've got in store for you today, we've got a number of different categories we're going to cover here today. We've actually have official award cards, courtesy of our marketing team, which put together these really cool award cards. The only thing we're missing is the tuxedos and like the big auditorium on live TV, like at the Grammys or the Oscars or the traditional award shows. That's the only thing that's missing, but we'll work our way up to that someday. So one thing I was going to say, though, is for those of you in the audience, those of you watching today, we're streaming to YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, X, and TikTok. Thank you for joining today, wherever you are. We're going to share with you some of these different categories. We have a winner for each category, and we have a runner-up for each category. But I'd love to hear the audience feedback as we go here. We're going to be going back and forth between what we have prepared for you on the different award categories. But I also would love to hear feedback from the audience. If you've got feedback on any of these vendors, any of these categories, anything you think we missed, anything along those lines, we'd love to hear your feedback. And if you don't mind, just dropping in the chat what city and country you're joining from today. I'd love to hear where you're joining from today. I imagine this is going to stimulate a lot of conversation here today, just because anytime we talk about pros and cons and comparisons of different software solutions, we always get a lot of feedback there. So I'd love to hear your feedback here in the audience. Speaking of the audience, we're already getting some comments coming in. Faye on YouTube says that they're blessed, or Fayo on YouTube says, I'm blessed. Thank you for being here. And I'm glad you're having a positive end to the year and hopefully a good start to 2026. Paolav on YouTube is from Thailand, says, hello, Eric. Also asking, how do we learn ERP systems? Hopefully today in this conversation is a good way to start to learn some different pros and cons and understandings of different systems in the marketplace. And then Sally on YouTube is joining from Cape Town, South Africa, and says, thank you for all your contributions, YouTube videos for 2025. Absolutely. Thank you for the kind words. And I hope you enjoy the videos, and we'll do more of them in 2026 since you like them. Good morning from Darian. Thanks for being here today, Darian. And then Mahad on YouTube says is from Alexandria, Egypt. So people from all over joining already here today. So love to get your global perspectives as we get going here. Before we jump into the categories, I want to share with you all something on my screen here. And this is really just a way to set the context. We're not going to dive into this in a great amount of detail, but we do a number of different top 10 lists on my YouTube channel and some of the content that we publish. In fact, we have our 2026 digital transformation report that just was published just last week, actually. And it contains our top 10 rankings of the top 10 ERP systems in the marketplace. Very broad, general ranking across industries, across company sizes, across geographies. So very big picture, very high level. Today, we're obviously going to go a lot deeper into specific categories and specific areas that different ERP systems can be compared. But I still want to share with you this top 10 list. And this is a list that we put together and published recently. And what we did is we said, instead of looking at just ERP systems, even though this is called the top 10 ERP systems for 2026, even though this award show is called the ERP Awards, the word ERP is becoming very blurred. It's a very gray area now as far as what exactly is ERP. Is it a true traditional monolithic ERP system, or does it entail AI? Does it entail business analytics and business intelligence and integration and composable ERP? And our answer and our response to that is most likely all of the above. You're going to have, there's a lot of different options in the marketplace available. So companies have a lot of choices to choose from that they hadn't had in the past. And this is our ranking for 2026 of what we see in the marketplace as far as some of the leading software vendors. And you can see right off the bat, number 1, 2, and 3, and 4 actually are not your traditional ERP vendors. Snowflake, Palantir, Salesforce, ServiceNow. A lot of you on the call here today would say those are not ERP systems. And in some cases, you're right, they are not ERP systems. But if you look at the broader enterprise technology category and business systems in general, they are systems that have great strengths. And of course, your traditional ERP systems like Microsoft E365, Oracle NetSuite, Infor, SAP, Odoo, Oracle Fusion is one that a lot would say should be in this top 10 list. You can make a very strong argument for this. You could make a very strong argument that none of these 10 should be in the top 10, and we should have an entirely different top 10 list. And so top 10 lists are a good place to start, a conversation, but rarely is it going to be the end all be all, which is why we thought we'd dive into it in a bit more detail by getting into some of these different categories that we're going to talk about here today. So I'd love to hear your feedback. What's your knee-jerk reaction to this top 10 list? I'm not going to dive into it in a lot of detail, but I'd love to hear, if you have a strong reaction to something you like or don't like about this list, I'd love to hear it. These conversations are always engaging, and we do not have all the answers, even though we're putting together the show and our top 10 list. We do not have all the answers, and many of you are going to have different opinions on that. So I'd love to hear your feedback on that as well. And then I want to say hello to Eduardo from Barcelona, Spain, and then Infrared L joining on YouTube from Dallas. So we have a very strong showing on YouTube here today. So thank you for joining wherever you are here today. So that's our top 10 list. What do you think? I'd love to hear your feedback on that, based on that initial thought or that initial ranking there. But what I want to do is get into our first award category. And this category is the most AI-driven platform. First of all, AI is probably the biggest buzzword of 2025. If we had to nominate a term that's most used for the enterprise tech space, is probably AI. In fact, the software that we use to do our podcast every week, it created this compilation video of saying what is the number one word you used in your podcast in 2025, and it created this montage of clips of me saying AI over and over and over again. It's actually kind of funny. I don't think it meant to be funny, but it was like a 30-second video, and I say AI like 600 times in that 30-second video. So even myself, I'm guilty of talking about AI, maybe too much. Some would argue maybe too much, but you can't talk about enterprise tech without talking about the most AI-driven ERP platform. All the vendors are talking about it. They all are investing heavily in AI. It's sort of a nuclear arms race, it seems like, to who can build the strongest platform with the best data and the best AI capabilities to really get to this utopia of AI. And let's start with the runner-up. The runner-up is a software vendor you've all probably heard of. It has advanced AI and machine learning tightly integrated into its ERP system, particularly strong in finance and analytics. And that runner-up is Oracle Fusion. or Oracle Cloud ERP, I should say. I still call it Fusion, but Oracle Cloud ERP. So that's the runner-up for being most AI-driven, and the winner of most AI-driven platform is SAP S/4HANA. And that is because, first of all, it has the broadest AI fabric embedded across S/4HANA finance, supply chain, and industry solutions at a global scale. And I think the big thing that both SAP and Oracle both have going for them is just their sheer scale. The fact that they are used across so many big organizations, and they are, at least in the case of SAP, and I believe it's true for Oracle as well, SAP has gotten tens of thousands of their customers to agree to opt into sharing their data and using it to train Joule and other aspects of SAP's AI models. And so I think that alone gives them a unique advantage that a lot of other software vendors aren't going to have. Not to mention the fact that SAP customers have so much historical data, and they've been on SAP in many cases for decades now. So you've got these big, massive global organizations that have been using SAP forever. And now you've got all this data that's being trained to train the SAP AI models. And that gives SAP a pretty unique leg up, and maybe to a slightly lesser degree, Oracle as well. So what's your knee-jerk reaction to that, Greg? Any thoughts, comments on that?
Well, I do think that being AI driven is something that all of the ERP vendors and all of the edge solution providers are working toward. And when you showed our top 10 list, it's really apparent that AI is driving a lot of that top 10 decision process, right? Especially as we look at how that is becoming a part of the fabric of the ERP systems, as well as just being able to interoperate various systems, including legacy systems, right? So now we're looking at the ERP, or digital operations, for an organization as an entire ecosystem connected very actively by AI. So vendors can't afford to fall behind. And that is one of the reasons why we ranked the top 10 in the top 10. So just amazing with the advent of AI. And you're right, we're all saying it too much, right?
I know.
I got to see that blooper reel where you say AI like 1,000 times.
I'm actually going to publish it, because what's even funnier is it's number one was AI. And then number two, you might appreciate this because you and I know each other well. The number two word that I most commonly use in my podcast is So it shows me saying AI. And then it says number two, the number two most commonly used word in your podcast is So it's me just going, and so that.
And as we all know, with AI and transcripts, that comes up all the time. So
I know. I wish it was smart enough to know.
It's terrible.
You need to make me look smarter by taking out the but AI has not figured that out yet. And see, I just did it again. See, now I'm self-conscious of my So here's the, actually, I meant to show you this earlier. Here is the QR code to download our 2026 ERP report. So a lot of these vendors are talking about in these different categories, like the one we just discussed, the most AI-driven ERP platform, the top 10 rankings, pros and cons of different systems, as well as general industry trends. You can find that in that ERP report. So be sure to scan it here. I'll drop it in the comments as well. You can download that and read that for free on our website. So I'd love to hear your feedback on that. But it's a really good report that our team put together. So please check it out and let us know what you think. Want to get to a couple other quick comments, and then I'll turn it over to you, Greg, for the next category, the next winner in the next category. We have, let's see, Paolav on YouTube says, I'm digital transformation in Thailand for enterprise company. We use Oracle for headquarters and composable model with Boomi Connect to leave Cal Software ERP. So
interesting.
Yeah. So you're getting into a category we're going to get to later, which is composable ERP. Integration is going to be a theme we talk about here today. So thanks for that feedback. That is something we look at too. And I think that's why it's so hard now to say just what are the top 10 ERP systems or what are the best ERP systems, because those lines are blurring so much between traditional ERP and more composable ERP and integration platforms. So great point. Thank you for sharing that. Esrar on LinkedIn says hi. So thank you for being here today, Esrar. Here's a comment from Mahad Dewan on Maha from Egypt on YouTube says Odoo is gaining a good marketplace in Egypt. We will, spoiler alert, Odoo, among many other vendors, will be receiving awards here today as well. So be sure to stick around for that. This is a comment from YouTube. It says none of the top 10 is really open source. Issues in 2026 are still centered around license costs. AI for the small and mid market is still a challenge to justify the ROI, and that's a great point. And ROI is a word that we've forgotten in this industry in many cases. You know, what's the business value? What's the ROI? Is it worth the investment we're going to make? So great points there. All right, well, let's get on to the next category, Greg. What's next on our list here?
Well, I'm embarrassed to say that I lost my first card. I've got the cards for the rest of the awards, but the card that we're pretending that I'm holding up is Best ERP for Microsoft-centric organizations.
Okay.
And surprisingly, the runner-up is NetSuite. Basically a strong SaaS ERP, but it lacks some of the native productivity layer integration, especially with the Microsoft suite. The winner of the category, again, not surprisingly, is Microsoft Dynamics 365. I mean, when you look at the seamless integration across Azure, Power Platform, Teams, Office, it makes a natural choice for Microsoft-heavy environments, right? You really can't get past the interconnectivity of all of those systems, the useful just log in or plug in, plug out, easy access to all of your applications in one spot. The 365 Finance and Operations stands out because it is a modern ERP platform embedded within one of the most complete enterprise ecosystems available today. So as a part of the broader Microsoft Cloud, you know, the hyperscaler infrastructure with Azure is just an amazing platform. And also you can't you can't approximate on-premise like we used to. The hyperscaler attention to security, to all of the different things that go into billions of dollars worth of infrastructure. And that's going to become even more important as we get into AI actually composing those applications that are running on that platform. So what do you think about those choices for Microsoft-centric?
I think it makes a lot of sense. I'd also add that NetSuite, I'm not sure why it is or if others agree with me on this, but NetSuite, in some ways, it has a similar look and feel as Microsoft. I feel like people that know Microsoft tools really well, NetSuite is an intuitive transition or an intuitive extension of that knowledge. But one thing that, as you were saying all this, I was thinking about, 10 or 20 years ago, I remember getting client feedback and even peer feedback in the industry about how Microsoft's enterprise tech strategy was kind of disjointed. It was kind of a mess because they had, at the time they had several different ERP systems between Navision, 𝑥apta, Great Plains, et cetera. And then, then they still had the Power Apps. They had Azure more recently, but they just had all this different stuff happening, all these different things they're investing in that it seemed kind of messy at the time. But now you look at it and think maybe it's really smart. Maybe they just were ahead of their time and now we're all catching up. And now I think Microsoft does have an advantage because, one size does not fit all, and Microsoft fits that philosophy really well because they've got all these different systems. And to your point, people are used to using Microsoft productivity tools in the workplace anyway. So when you throw D365 or Power Apps or whatever, Power BI on top of that, it's an easier transition for them in many cases.
Correct. And we all know that Excel is the largest ERP system in the world, right?
Yes, it is. It's underrated. It's been the number one ERP system for about, 40 years now, I imagine?
40 years? Sure.
Yeah, it's just all the other systems are all just noise, right? We're just trying to figure out a way to replace those Excel spreadsheets. But it is true. I mean, I think we're always going to have spreadsheets, and the fact that Microsoft is able to so seamlessly tie together some of those different applications, I think is super powerful.
Definitely.
Good. Well, here's the next category: best ERP for upper, small, and mid-market and lower mid-market organizations. or I'm sorry, upper small and mid-sized companies, lower mid-market. So basically not small companies, but more, call it the larger small companies, the smaller mid-sized companies, right in that mid-market. What are the leading systems there? So let's start with the runner-up. Runner-up, you've probably heard of the winner. You may not have heard of the runner-up. So the runner-up, I'll tell you first why they're the runner-up. They have a good balance of flexibility, modern architecture, and predictable pricing for growing organizations. And they do focus on and tailor organizations in this space. And that runner-up is Acumatica. So if you're not familiar with them, it's spelled ACU-Matica, one C in the spelling there. So that's a runner-up. Acumatica, the runner-up for best ERP for upper small and mid-sized companies. And then the winner for this category is particularly strong in manufacturing and distribution, and I'd say also retail centric mid-market firms. And that winner for this category is epicor. So best ERP for upper SMB, lower mid-market organizations is epicor, company that's been around for a long time. Great product suite that we've seen used successfully. A lot of our clients are implementing it now or have implemented it recently. What are your thoughts on that category, Greg?
I think that especially epicor is really an outstanding choice as a winner. They have done a lot in the last, call it 6 years, with their executive team really going out and acquiring the right software systems and edge solutions to make it a more complete solution, especially in the manufacturing space, right? Field services they recently added 2 years ago. I think it became GA, but they do some incredible things with CPG, with or CPQ, excuse me, and the field service piece of it, which a lot of the clients that we work with and talk to are looking for those specific niche pieces. And that's why a lot of the clients that we've worked with over the last 4 or 5 years have chosen epicor and gone in that direction.
Right.
The implementations are going well too, for the most part, with epicor.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. For a while they had, I'd say this is probably 10 or 15 years ago. They went through, epicor went through a couple private equity ownership changes. And for a while there, they had a strategy where they were very product centric to the point where they were under investing, or in some cases retrenching from building out their ecosystem of implementation partners. And, I know a lot of their implementation partners for a while there were feeling neglected and not supported by epicor. And it was, they're building they had always had a pretty good product, but they didn't always have the ecosystem to support it. But more recently in the last, I'd say 5 or 10 years, they've really invested heavily in that ecosystem of implementation partners, which is arguably just as, maybe even more important than the product itself. So I think they've come a long way just in the last 5 years. And a lot of that is due to leadership changes. I think they're finally have a relatively stable leadership team that's seems to be taking them in the right direction.
Yeah. And Acumatica, I mean, if you haven't heard of Acumatica, you will. So, I mean, I see ads in the airport all of the time now for Acumatica, but they're really making great strides. So,
yeah. We didn't have a category for highest growth or most up and coming. We have some similar categories, but Acumatica would probably be on that list, in the top tier of that list if we did have it.
Definitely.
Yeah, very cool. Just a couple quick comments here before I turn it over to you for the next category, Greg. Hopefully you have the card for this next one, right?
I do.
Oh, good. Good comments here. This is from Brandon on YouTube. I find it interesting where ERP fits now. Do you extend the ERP usage to analytics or go to a true EPM platform? That's a very expensive question. And it is, and that's a great question. It gets back to, this category we first started with, the most AI-driven platform. Oracle is the runner-up here. And one of the big strengths of Oracle that we didn't talk about is just their EPM capabilities. I mean, that's probably where Oracle is the strongest, is just in enterprise performance management, analytics, BI. I mean, that's something that, and even financial consolidations and financial reporting, that's an area that Oracle has been very strong in. So I guess it depends on what your ERP system is. If you have Oracle, you could probably use Oracle as that EPM platform. But if it's a different ERP system, yeah, you might want or need a bolt-on or a more advanced EPM sort of platform. What are your thoughts, Greg?
Well, some of the solutions that we looked at in the top 10 list, Snowflake, Palantir, and others, really comprise that data layer on top of enterprise solutions, legacy solutions, and so forth. So when we get into composable ERP, it really does become a choice. Do I go with a single ERP vendor and their business intelligence, their AI, and have that seamlessly working throughout? Or do I go to a solution that is specifically focused on just BI and analytics? I think it really depends on your business, and it depends on the amount of customization and change you're willing to go through to bolt those systems together.
Yeah, absolutely. Those are really good points. Eswar on LinkedIn says Microsoft also has Business Central for small and mid-sized enterprises. Great point. We did not clarify that, but when we talk about Microsoft and Microsoft usability and Microsoft look and feel, Microsoft ERP, there's D365 F&O, which is finance and operations, and there's D365 Business Central, which is more for the small and mid-market companies. So we sort of lumped it all together into Microsoft D365 as a broader category, but it is worth noting that there are two different flavors of D365 for sure. Here's a question around epicor having Thai localization. I believe epicor does. Don't quote me on that, but I'm almost positive that epicor does have Thai localization. Whether or not they have implementation partners in Thailand, I'm not sure, but I do know, or I do believe they have localization there. Here's a comment from 𝗔𝗂𝗄𝗏 on YouTube. I've been on the HCM and payroll space for a very big portion of my career, and many of my clients are approaching vendor selection with the best of breed mindset. I concur. A lot of our clients are doing the same. We do still have some that are focused on one system, but I'd say it's a really good mix of people that are looking at traditional ERP versus ones that are looking at more of a best of breed sort of implementation. And then Brandon on YouTube says, ERP implementations have always been large, costly, timely, ongoing implementations, and that's why the large consulting firms love them. Do you think AI decreases time and cost of implementation? Yes, it should. If it's not, then you should probably challenge your system integrator, your implementation partner. Why are you not using AI to help reduce your cost? And the answer may be because it's not a conflict of interest, but it's not self-serving to use AI to reduce the time and cost for clients because it reduces the time and cost or the revenue to consulting firms. And that's why we push really hard to use AI in our client engagements to allow them to accelerate the implementation timeline. And so we have a mission control AI tool set that allows clients to really take control of their implementations and capture that information and help accelerate and just start some of the work that system integrators typically had taken too long to do.
It really is the difference between that traditional systems integrator approach to massive consulting sides of the project team going in and doing a lot of work that now can be accomplished by AI in minutes or hours rather than days or weeks. So you're right. Vested interest in that.
The manual time it takes to document requirements, to document test scenarios, training materials, customizing training materials for your business or your industry, all that stuff. I mean, that's all stuff that it's important to do, but it's also time consuming and expensive. But now AI allows you to speed that up and focus more on the strategic thinking part of these implementations rather than the grunt work behind it. All right. So what's the next category, Greg?
All right. So I've got my card up, right? So this time I actually have the card. Best ERP for SMBs, broad market. Okay. And the runner-up, Acumatica again. So we've got Acumatica in several categories here. So if you haven't heard about it again, it's time to learn. Acumatica is increasingly competitive for SMBs seeking flexibility and cost transparency. I mean, they do have a great cost model in terms of the way that it's put together and deployed. The winner in this category is actually NetSuite. So we've got NetSuite coming in as the winner of the best ERP for SMBs. In our client engagements, we see NetSuite actually being successful many times between the suite success model for implementation and the proven SaaS ERP with broader adoption across retail, e-commerce, and professional services. NetSuite is a natural winner in this category. Their key strength is the breadth of the functionality that they bring. It's delivered out of the box in large part, and then augmented by an ecosystem of suite apps and third-party extensions that address industry-specific needs. And Oracle's continued investment has expanded global capabilities and improved analytics, while Suite Cloud enables developers and partners to extend the platform without compromising maintainability, which was always a really big problem. Anytime you implemented a system and you were integrating it with either legacy systems or something else as a third party, that integration was always a struggle, right? You upgrade one side of it and it breaks the integration, you have to go back and fix it. They have really just included maintainability of those interconnections as a kind of a native part of the fabric of NetSuite. So very impressive, and it's working great for smaller and mid-sized businesses.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's interesting too with NetSuite, how not only have they been laser focused on the small and mid-market, but also how they are sort of the OG, the original, one of the original cloud providers in the marketplace, back in '98 when they started the company and built the product with Larry Ellison's involvement from Oracle as well. They were way ahead of their time, building stuff in the cloud and multi-tenant cloud too, at a time when companies just weren't doing that. It's been more recently in the last 10 years or so that cloud has really gotten the attention of the marketplace. So now they're in a unique position because while a lot of traditional on-premise software vendors now are still trying to make that jump over to the cloud from on-premise, NetSuite's been in the cloud the whole time. And this is also true for Salesforce and for Workday as well, among others. But NetSuite has that unique advantage in that they were one of the pioneers of multi-tenant cloud, SaaS cloud.
Oh, definitely. Great point.
Very cool. All right. And, shifting gears, doing a total 180 on what you just talked about, Greg, on the category there. You were talking about small and mid-market. This is the best ERP for large, complex enterprises. Of all the categories in the awards we do, this might be the most anticlimactic one, so I won't spend a lot of time on it. You might be able to guess what the two are. The runner-up for best ERP for large, complex enterprises, and you might know this, I think I stole my own thunder by talking about this a moment ago, but the runner-up is especially strong for finance-led, cloud-first enterprise transformations. They're very good at EPM, analytics, financial reporting, among other things. And that is Oracle Cloud ERP. So Oracle Cloud ERP is the runner-up for large, complex global organizations. And the winner, most of you could probably guess, drop it in the chat if you want to guess ahead of me before I say it. Still the benchmark for global scale organizations. The product is probably best to handle global regulatory complexity and tax reporting, financial reporting requirements, and deeply integrated enterprise operations. The winner for large, complex enterprises is SAP S/4HANA. Still the gold standard for large companies that are trying to automate and integrate their operations. As complex as it is, as many challenges as there might be with S/4HANA implementations, it still is the leader, and it still is in many ways unrivaled, other than maybe with Oracle, in terms of being able to handle the scale and complexities of some of these large organizations. Are you surprised by that, Greg? Was that
No, I think those are two clear winners in the category. But I will say that one of the reasons why SAP has had such great staying power and really has been adopted and retained by a lot of organizations is because they've been around for 30 years, 35 plus years.
Well, as a company, SAP's been about 50 years, but the product is probably S/4HANA, right. I think it's about 10 or 12 years old now.
10 or 12. But the ecosystem, the partner ecosystem they built around the world if you look at global organizations that are looking for a seasoned, well-experienced team that's going to go in and provide specific industry expertise in the implementation, SAP is unsurpassed. Oracle's becoming close, I think, in terms of that ecosystem around the world. But as important as choosing your partner on the software vendor side, choosing your SI or your systems integrator for the implementation is important. And that SAP network, although expensive, is very well proven. So,
yeah, and so many big companies already have deep SAP capabilities built up, even if it's in ECC or even R3 in some cases. So they've invested heavily in the SAP product suite over the years, and now many of them are still struggling to make that transition over to S/4HANA. But to move from ECC to a non-SAP product is a big lift, and I think a lot of organizations don't have any good options besides that, which creates, topic for another conversation, creates a whole nother set of issues for SAP customers. But part of that is because SAP has built such a good product suite for that market, for the Fortune the Fortune 500, Fortune 1000 market. Good deal. Someone guessed SAP. I apologize, I can't see the name, but someone guessed. And of course,
it was me. It was me.
Yeah. I don't know why I didn't show the name. That's funny. So, okay. Well, good. What's next, Greg?
Market momentum and strategy awards. I think we're moving right into that, right? So as we were going through some different categories, we wanted to not only choose the winners for the core ERP. You'll see another couple of categories here as we move along. Some of them kind of playful and fun, but the market momentum and strategy awards, I think, are kind of vitally important, because that really tells us where ERP as a discipline is going. And I think looking at our different categories here, the first one that comes up is one that I do have a card for. So the vendor turnaround and comeback of the year.
Ooh, this should be
good. Is that weighty or what?
That is comeback. Everyone likes a good comeback story, a good Rocky Balboa story, underdog type story.
Yeah. So I mean, if you want to put your guesses in the chat, you could do so. We've got a runner up here with QAD, and QAD has renewed clarity and discipline in the manufacturing focused strategy. Eric, I think you recently attended a conference with QAD. It's just amazing what they're doing as a business, right? As a vendor partner with their industry focus. I think they're especially in the medium to large market, they're really expanding very quickly, doing very well. The winner in this category is one of the long-standing standouts in the ERP space, and that's Infor. Quiet but meaningful improvements in execution, industry focus, and customer satisfaction. They've really been working on the customer satisfaction. They've got a very seasoned, and I've used that word a couple of times. That's kind of like your right?
Yeah.
Very, very experienced and forward-looking, forward-thinking executive team. And that executive team has brought together both the technology components, the business process components. They've really just come into the AI world. I remember years ago when they introduced AI Coleman, and here more recently, it has moved into or evolved into the Velocity Suite. And the Velocity Suite and tools really just enhances by providing integration in an AI layer that extends Cloud Suite's capabilities to other systems. It makes it a natural fit for hybrid environments, for the ability to develop that composable ERP and what we refer to commonly as digital enterprise operations. Surrounding the core ERP and your, quote, back office functions, The blend of specialization and openness allows organizations to serve very select industry segments. So you've got Cloud Suite Industrial, you've got LN, M3, and some of the other flavors of Infor, but all of them work very specific industries and occupy roles and positions in those industries that are really kind of unsurpassed. And that has really developed over the last 2 to 3 years, in my view.
Yeah.
They were laggards about 10 years ago. So
yeah,
what do you think about that?
they've gone from being I've heard you use this phrase too, Greg, but I've heard others say it too in the past, but Infor has gone from being the place where old ERP systems go to die, because they bought Bond, they bought Lawson, there's others that they bought, kind of these legacy products that no longer exist. But what happened was, not only did they acquire that customer base, but then they acquired a lot of, technical capabilities and functional capabilities in those systems. And now they're migrating a lot of that over to Infor Cloud Suite. And to your point, they've got that velocity, integration, interoperability platform sort of approach. And I think the cool thing about Infor is that I think they provide a good alternative to companies that maybe are either not quite big enough, or they just don't want to deal with the rigidity of an SAP or an Oracle, but they need something that can still scale. And I think Infor fits nicely there, especially for manufacturing and distribution type companies where
Right.
Microsoft D365 may not be strong enough in those areas, but Infor does have a lot of industry specific capabilities too. So I think they're in a pretty unique spot.
Manufacturing, distribution, public sector,
Yeah, public sector.
healthcare.
Yeah.
They're very industry focused.
Yeah. And QAD, I don't want to, gloss too much over them, but they're interesting because I don't know about you, Greg, but I don't know that I can think of an example of a software vendor that has done such a hard pivot on their strategy and overall approach. Because they've gone from being, a very focused, fairly solid ERP provider that focused a lot on automotive manufacturing is one area that they've always been very strong in. But the software itself, the technology itself, was becoming pretty dated. And so they have a new CEO, new leadership team, and a totally different strategy now, where they're coming in and not really becoming just an ERP provider. They're trying to be more of an AI platform provider that plays nicely with other systems. So they're not coming in with an ERP strategy per se. They're coming in with more of a platform strategy, which I think is really interesting. And it's still early, which is why they're a runner up. And who knows, maybe next year or the year after, they'll be the winner, depending on how they execute. But so far, the signs are pretty encouraging in terms of how they're moving in that direction, how quickly they've made the pivot. So
They absolutely have.
very interesting stuff. Before I get to the next category, just a couple audience questions here. Pal Lover on YouTube says, I don't agree. Big enterprise has a decision maker that doesn't want responsibility to choose other alternative solutions. It's true. That's why a lot of companies stick with SAP and Oracle, because it's perceived to be too risky to do anything other than SAP or Oracle. So it's not always the best reason to choose an ERP system. It's usually not the best reason, but for some it works, for some it doesn't. But that's why we have these award shows and these rankings, to show you that there are other alternatives out there, especially if you have a clear, deliberate strategy that might point you in a different direction. There's a comment from 𝗔𝗜-𝗗𝗿𝗔𝗔 on YouTube. From my experience, main reasons beyond vendor costs and lack of incentives for being efficient, and the disclaimer here is I'm an ex-Big Four guy. There's very shy, if any, preparation and buy-in on the transformation. That's true. If you don't get alignment, buy-in, preparation, all that stuff, that's what's going to drive up your cost. So that's a great point.
Yeah, I was just going to say that, and very, very similar to this comment. I mean, vendor lock-in, so that the executive level goes with SAP because they don't think that any other path is going to be as successful. So the lift and shift idea, that is what appeals as a least risky course. But it goes back to, before you even start on this journey, right, with your chosen vendor, you really have to go through that phase 0 internally and align the organization behind exactly what you're trying to accomplish. Begin with the end in mind, right? And so I think that that comment here is just perfect.
Yeah, absolutely. That's why phase 0 is so important. And you and I espouse that and talk about that a lot in our client work every day.
Absolutely.
And then one more comment from Asrar on LinkedIn. One of the systems acquired by Infor is Sun Systems for Hospitality. I totally forgot about Sun. So thank you for the, I knew there was another vendor I was forgetting that Infor had bought, and Sun is one of them. All right. So next category here. Yeah, we've got a lot of categories to get to still. Best industry focused ERP strategy. This is a good one because this focuses on highlighting those software vendors that aren't necessarily trying to be everything to everyone. They're not trying to solve all the world's problems. They're just trying to solve problems with specific industries. So they've gone deep into certain industries rather than going broad across all industries. So I'll tell you right now, at companies like SAP, Oracle, Microsoft D365 did not make the cut on this category, even though they do have some industry capabilities. They've got some pre-configurations and other capabilities that can help you in different industries, but they're not as focused as these two are. So the runner-up for best industry-focused ERP strategy, there's actually 2 of them here. This one, actually, this is true for both of them, but the first runner-up has strong vertical depth in manufacturing, healthcare, and distribution, and that runner-up is Infor with Infor Cloud Suite. And there's actually a second runner-up here too, and this is a company you may not have heard of. It's an Israeli company that does a lot with manufacturing, distribution, retail, among others. They have a very strong presence in the Middle East and Europe, but not so much in the Americas yet, although they're trying to make inroads more globally. But that runner-up, the other runner-up for best industry-focused ERP strategy is Priority Software. So that's another system worth looking into, especially if you're in manufacturing, distribution, or retail. And there's other industries too. They've got different industry solutions for different industries. So Infor and Priority Software are the 2 runners-up. And then the winner is a product or a vendor that provides clear leadership in asset-intensive and service-centric industries, including workforce management, anything to do with maintenance and repair, managing big, expensive assets like machinery and equipment out in the field. Any organization that has those sorts of needs might benefit from this type of software. And the winner for best industry-focused ERP strategy is IFS Software. They're another company that has come a long way in the last 10 or 20 years. To be honest, this category is really hard because there's a lot of really good options. There's probably 5 more we could easily say should be, a winner or runner-up at least. But what are your thoughts on that category, Greg?
I had the pleasure of going to an IFS conference a couple of months ago, and the integration with AI is just amazing. Some of their focus on, for instance, field service organizations and utilities. They've made great strides in being able to really automate the process of driving by and checking the different locations for transformers and things like that can actually be remotely assessed by AI and immediately broadcast back to the maintenance facility, and crews can be called out. They have the right equipment when they go. It's just amazing that they're adapting with AI to improve speed, the strength of their response, and especially in energy and utilities, really making some great strides. So,
yeah, very much so. Good. What's next?
Next, we've got a different category here that really goes to the idea of managing your expectations with a vendor, and then make sure that you manage your contracts with a vendor. It's the best ERP licensing and commercial flexibility. This one was hard to pick because it's not well known how all of the different ERP vendors stack up side by side. You really have to take a lot of anecdotal information, and things change on a fiscal basis, right? In terms of contracts, in terms of the terms of the agreement, especially in SaaS agreements, where you're going to have subscription for a number of years. There are accelerators in some of those agreements but the runner-up here is Microsoft Dynamics 365, modular SaaS licensing aligned with composable adoption. You can use a little or a lot of Microsoft D365, and that makes it very flexible in terms of the deployment, right? The winner is Acumatica. So we had Acumatica in the other category as a second runner-up, but here a winner. Resource-based pricing remains one of the most customer-friendly models in ERP. And that's the way that ERP systems used to basically contract on the on-premise solutions, but Acumatica has really moved this into another level and make it very efficient to be able to determine exactly what you're going to get, how much it's going to cost, and they're very open about that. So if you're looking for vendor management that is going to be successful ongoing, Acumatica might be a good choice for you.
Yeah. And again, you mentioned it before, but it's a system that's not always the best known out there, but it is one that's definitely up and coming. And you do have to look at licensing costs and flexibility, especially in today's cloud subscription-based environment where you've really handed off or passed a lot of the pricing leverage off to your vendor. And it's becoming a challenge for a lot of companies to manage those costs and to justify the cost of their cloud subscription. So having the best commercial terms may not be the sexiest, coolest topic that we cover here today or category that we cover, but it is an important one for CIOs and leaders to consider.
Absolutely.
Okay, here's one that you love, Greg. I know you're going to have some thoughts on this, I'm sure. That is best composable ERP strategy. And let me let Greg back in. There we go.
There you go.
You just disappeared for right as I was getting into a
So did you. So did you.
So best composable ERP strategy that actually works in practice. Composable ERP is one of those terms that's becoming potentially overused. It's becoming a big buzzword, hype word, or whatever. So we wanted to focus it on composable strategy tools that actually work, that we're actually seeing in action right now with our clients. So the runner-up is a product that has purpose-built composability that prioritizes speed and adaptability. It's built with AI embedded within it. It's built to essentially work and play nicely with other ERP systems. And it's a way to provide that, I don't want to call it the last mile, but that tool that ties everything together across multiple platforms, multiple data sets, et cetera. It also has the luxury of being founded by the company that produces this product is founded by a legend in the ERP space. He founded Bond Software, which we talked about. Infor now owns Bond, but Jan Bond started this company. It's a product called 𝗪𝒆. So the runner-up for best composable ERP strategy that actually works in practice is 𝗪𝒆. And the winner is a vendor that we've talked about a couple times so far here today. I'm going to give it away before. I'm going to try and be dramatic and build up to it, but you're all going to know what it is before I get to it. It has Power Platform and Azure that enable modular ERP without turning transformation into a science project. And the winner for best composable ERP strategy is Microsoft D365, in particular, the F&O version of D365, Finance and Operations. For those of you that know the difference, not Business Central per se, but more on the finance and operations side of D365, that is the winner for best composable strategy. What are your thoughts, Greg? You love this category. I know you have a lot.
I do love this category, and Jan Bond is quite the legend, right? I think back in the 80s, he actually took something like 40,000 Boeing employees off of the mainframe and into a new modern ERP system, right? And as you say, that's now owned by Infor, but Jan has been a pioneer in the ERP space. He's also a pioneer in the agentic AI space. So as you said, the composable nature of 𝗪𝒆 is that it sits on top of your legacy ERP system and can manage workflow across the top of that that legacy ERP. So you don't necessarily have to replace that monolithic ERP back office system. Now you can actually upgrade, update, and create the flexibility on the top of that that goes along with, you know, a much more nimble, much more rapid implementation.
Right. Yeah.
Time to value. Time to value is everything.
Yes. In fact, yeah, someone on YouTube here, 𝗏𝒊𝒃𝒃, and I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing your handle or your name there, says Microsoft, yes, I agree for composable very fast. So the audience, at least one person in the audience agrees with you as well there. There's another one I was going to get to. Bear with me. Oh, here's a comment. I don't know if you saw this come up yet, Greg, but this is from Brandon Beam on YouTube. Brandon says, do you guys plan to do an awards for CPM? Been in the space for a while, and the amount of new players is incredible, and the ERP systems are players as well with their finance analytics solutions. I like this because it means at least one person watching here today wants us to do another award show. That's all we're hoping for. Just one of you that wants to see us do this again. So thank you for that comment. Maybe we will do more award shows in different categories. Asrar on LinkedIn says IBM Maximo is also good for equipment preventative maintenance. So that is a very good product as well. It's one that I've worked with a lot over the years. So, all right, is it my turn or your turn, Greg? I can't remember. I think
it's my turn.
Yeah.
So the best ERP integration and interoperability platform. So this is one of your favorites, Eric.
It is.
And it's very similar to the last category.
It is. It's a little bit of overlap.
It is. So the runner-up here is particularly strong with the Microsoft ecosystem, and you're probably going to be able to guess it before I get it out. But the third-party and SaaS tools that are available with this system are really pretty limitless. And the runner-up is Microsoft D365. So again, we're seeing Microsoft D365 come up several times. It's no surprise. The winner in this category is a little bit surprising, and this shows you how objective we're trying to be in the decisions, because it's SAP. SAP, industry-leading integration across ERP and non-ERP ecosystems. So you think about a lot of those legacy systems, they aren't necessarily all SAP. SAP integrates very nicely, plays very nicely with a lot of those systems. So upgrade that core and bring everything else into an S4 environment, and you can still operate with a lot of the legacy systems that are your secret sauce as an organization. The common thread between these two is composability. That ability to evolve without disruption, integrate without dependence, and innovate without rebuilding everything. So I don't know what you think about that.
Yeah, it is. And I think that's, an area that is a point of controversy in our industry and it always has been, but I think it's becoming more heated, the debate, in terms of, do you want one single unified ERP system, or do you want more of like an integration platform and capability? And 20 years ago, 30 years ago, integrating different systems and building middleware and all that stuff was such a huge pain in the ass that a lot of companies didn't want to do it, or they shied away from it. But now it's just different, especially with like the advent of Boomi and MuleSoft and some of these integration tools. It makes it a lot easier and more feasible to tie together multiple systems. Yeah, good stuff. I like it. And this is actually another topic or another category that's very much related to the last two around composable ERP and integration. And this one is the best data-driven enterprise platform. So ERP adjacent. We're not talking about necessarily just ERP here. We're talking about best data-driven enterprise platform. So the platform that can provide the best integration and data across the organization, regardless of whether it's ERP or any other platform. And the runner-up is a vendor or product that has continued progress integrating ERP, analytics, and data infrastructure. Very big in cloud, very strong cloud financial results and cloud conversions amongst their their customer base, and it's one we've talked about a couple times here so far today. And that runner-up is Oracle Cloud ERP. So that's the runner-up for best data-driven enterprise platform. And the winner is one we have not talked about yet. This is, I think, the first time this vendor's name has come up. And this vendor is increasingly central to operational decision-making beyond traditional ERP boundaries. They made a name for themselves in the government space, large federal governments throughout the world. It was an area where they really sunk in their teeth. It's very AI friendly. I mean, there's a lot of AI capabilities built into this tool set. So the winner for best data-driven enterprise platform is Palantir. And that's another product that I know you and I have talked a lot about and worked closely with. Greg, what are your thoughts on?
Well, we've worked closely with Palantir for years, before they were even well known as they are in the marketplace now. And the ontology layer that they can bring to bear really makes it more of a workflow management tool, and incorporating BI as well on top of that is unsurpassed. They've made huge strides. I don't know if you've seen how they're doing in the stock market, but generally recognized as one of the leading AI-driven platforms out there. And they have been very strong on the government side. They're rapidly moving into the private sector. So look to see a lot more some of the other interoperability solutions. So
yeah, absolutely. All right, what do you have next?
I've got a different category, but it's related to the last category. So here we go again. Best Enterprise Data Cloud ERP Adjacent Powerhouse. And what we mean by ERP adjacent is really kind of the genesis for our top 10 list as well. So we were looking at those ERP adjacent tool sets that really bring things together from a digital enterprise operations and a digital transformation standpoint. And the runner-up has a strong AI and data science capability, especially for advanced analytics teams, and that is Databricks. Databricks is also partnered very closely with a lot of the larger ERP tier 1 systems. And so you see Databricks just about everywhere. They're kind of ubiquitous in the ecosystem right now. The winner is Snowflake. So not a real surprise there. They're the de facto data backbone for modern enterprises. They enable analytics, AI, and interoperability across multi-ERP environments. So as you have disparate systems that need to be joined by a number of integration points that are composable, Snowflake is a very common and very relevant choice. They bring data into a single secure ecosystem, and then they allow organizations to layer advanced analytics, machine learning, and decision automation across just about every function in the organization. So what do you think about those?
It's great. We see a lot of clients that use Snowflake and Databricks, both of those solutions. And it's just these last several categories are really interesting because hopefully it's opening up the eyes of different options and different strategies you can take or pursue with your enterprise tech, because it's not just one size fits all or even one category fits all. And that's why we're doing all these different strange categories, is because these are the things you have to think about when you go through these evaluations and potential digital strategies. But I think, Snowflake and Databricks are great examples of not newcomers. They're not newcomers, but 10 or 20 years ago, we weren't talking about those two vendors, but now they're very relevant, and they've disrupted the space in a good way and given us a lot more options to think about. So here's an interesting one as we get toward the end here. These are some fun ones. Most overhyped ERP trend of the year. Love to hear the audience feedback on this, because this was actually a really hard one because there's so many overhyped trends of the year. And And that's what we like to do, is make fun of our own industry and ourselves at time. And this is a good way to make fun of ourselves in our industry. So the runner-up for most overhyped ERP trend of the year, and again, drop it in the comments. I'm going to stall a little bit to give you a chance to comment here from the audience. But the runner-up is fit to standard, solves everything. And that is until a real world complexity shows up, or the reality of your industry, the reality of your unique business operations shows up, then fit to standard suddenly doesn't sound so good. I think that's one. It's actually more than just an overhyped trend. It's actually a dangerous trend, because thinking that you can just do everything fit to standard, or 99% of your implementation fit to standard, I think that creates a lot more problems than it solves, even if it were to be somewhat realistic. But the winner, and this hopefully is no surprise, the winner for most overhyped ERP trend of the year is that AI will fix your broken processes. And bad news here is that AI will not fix your broken processes. I'm really sorry. AI is really cool, but it's not going to fix your broken processes. It accelerates outcomes, but doesn't replace governance or leadership. Definitely doesn't replace data governance. It doesn't replace just common sense and, smooth business processes. What are your thoughts, Greg? Do you agree with those overhyped trends? Would you add anything?
No, but our next category is going to add some things.
Well, let's hear it.
Well, the next category, as you might have guessed, is most abused buzzwords in ERP sales decks. All right, so we see a lot of sales decks, right? And the runner-up here is one of my favorites. It's best practices. So it's frequently undefined and context free, right? It doesn't really mean very much. It means that you're going to accept everything that we have as a standard, quote, out of the box, and it's going to adhere to our best practices. Well, that may not be your best practices. so right. A very abused term.
But
aiming for average practices to fit a vendor software is really what best practices is all about.
Yeah, by definition, best practices for a vendor has to be somewhat watered down, because it has to be the lowest common denominator that will work for the most companies, which means it's not best practice. It just means more companies might be able to use it.
Average practices.
Yeah.
This is the average practice.
But see, that doesn't sell. It doesn't sound good. If I'm a sales guy, I can't sell that. I can sell that practice because that's what I want. That's what a buyer wants to hear.
Sell software.
Yeah.
And the winner here is too often used to dismiss legitimate business needs, and it's clean core.
Oh,
so how many times we've just started hearing that a lot? Yeah, you've got to get to a clean core. Well, clean core means you're giving up all of the secret sauce that made your business what it is, right?
Yeah.
It's kind of going to best practices because you're giving up all of your integrations and customizations that have kind of built your business over the years, and you're going with just a clean core, starting fresh. Sounds great, but it really isn't very practical.
That's the term that makes me cringe the most in this space right now. It used to be best practices. Now I think
I thought I saw you shudder a little bit. Yeah.
It was like nails on a chalkboard. It's like clean core, because it's just it's a powerful word. It's a powerful phrase, because if you think about the psychology of it, clean core, that sounds good. Like clean is good, dirty is bad. So I want a clean core, which means I get rid of all my customization and, like you said, the secret sauce. But the technologists in us all would love to have a clean core because it's easier to manage and maintain. But the business reality most commonly will determine that clean core is not the best situation, especially not across the board. Some parts of your business might be okay with clean core because you can live with whatever standard functionality exists in the system. But a lot of your secret sauce, your competitive differentiators, it's not going to exist in clean core. So what do? Well, you're either going to customize, you're going to do a bolt-on, you're going to add a platform. There's something you're going to have to do outside that clean core to make it work. So, okay, best slideware versus reality gap. So similar to what you were just talking about, Greg, the most abused term in the sales deck. This is a little bit different, but the best slideware versus reality gap. The runner-up is out-of-the-box demos, which is really a highly curated PowerPoint deck, and it's rarely representative of what the software can actually do, especially now with AI and cloud solutions that are half-baked or they're in the process of being developed. But you've got salespeople out there that have to sell the product, so they put together some cool, flashy PowerPoint slides that don't necessarily.
It's going to be GA in 6 months.
Right, exactly. It's on the roadmap.
Yep.
That's on the next iteration of the roadmap. And then the winner for best slideware versus reality gap is end-to-end ERP transformation timelines. They rarely survive first contact with execution. So again, it's a slideware that shows that we can implement the solution in 18 months, and here's how we're going to do it. That typically looks good on a PowerPoint slide, but typically does not match reality. So that's the winner for best slideware versus reality gap.
Very good.
All right, what next?
Just watching the time, we should probably.
Yeah, I've only got one more after this.
I've only got one more after this as well. So I think we're moving into a little bit different category though. Surprise and Wildcat Awards, right?
Yeah.
So
right.
I mean, it's almost too bad we didn't put this at the front, because then we could have talked about this and then talked about it all the way through.
Right.
But within that category, we're looking at the surprise standout of the year, and the runner-up is we talked about it a little bit before. This is one of those low code platforms. It's up and coming. You're going to see a lot about it in the next year, and Rapid is the runner-up. So growing traction where flexibility and speed really matter when you're trying to go through a digital transformation, and that low-code AI-driven capabilities provide significant advantages in accessibility and adaptability of the system to work with a lot of your legacy systems. As Jan likes to call it, keep the castle and surround it with agentic AI and some of the workflow. So I think he refers to it also as massage the elephant, but don't be trampled by it. I love the way that he approaches things. The winner in this category, consistent execution without chasing headlines, industry-specific software built for better business, the strategy and a dynamic for long-standing executive team, leadership with a strong recipe for success, and it's Infor again. And that's our surprise standout of the year, and I think a very appropriate winner slot for Infor this year. So what do you think about that?
Yeah, I think it makes a lot of sense. I mean, they're both doing pretty innovative things, both Rapid and Infor doing very innovative things that are different, things that are shaking up the industry quite a bit. So I agree with those both. Then the last one, I think, do you have one more, Greg, or is this the last one that I'm doing?
This is the last one.
Okay. So the last category, quietly doing the right things. It's another surprise wild card sort of a category here. So quietly doing the right things. The runner up is IFS, which has been focused on discipline and clarity over hype. IFS is very focused. They don't proclaim to be everything to everyone in different industries. In fact, there's times where we are evaluating IFS for potential software or for potential clients, and IFS oftentimes will be the first one to say, hey, this isn't a good fit for us, or this isn't what we do. Whereas a lot of other vendors will just chase it anyway. They'll try to win the deal, even if it's not.
Very honest approach.
Yeah. So IFS is a run-up for quietly doing the right things. And the winner for the quietly doing the right things category is not only the product itself. This is a company, more of a company-driven category, but it's QAD. Now, we talked about them earlier today. They've got their champion AI platform that they've recently rolled out. They've got their ERP tool set that is used primarily by manufacturing distribution types of companies, very much focused on manufacturing distribution. They're not trying to get into government or financial services, anything like that. So QAD, great leadership team. A total overhaul of their leadership team and the product itself. So a lot of good stuff there. So the winner is QAD for quietly doing the right things. What are your thoughts on that one, Greg?
Excellent choices. And again, we're talking a lot about leadership teams in some of these vendor discussions. And as you're choosing a partner to be your vendor of choice going forward, after you get through that phase 0, right? The very important first part, you really have to look at their leadership team. You really have to look at their blueprints for what is coming next. You really have to know that they are going to be a great partner to you. And even getting back into that pricing category, right? So the negotiation all the way around revolves around all of those things that we've been looking at today. AI is certainly going to be an important factor going forward. Anybody that is not including that as a part of their fabric is losing out. I mean, it's just not going to probably be relevant in another 3 to 5 years. So choosing that partner for long-term success is really what needs to happen.
Yeah.
And I think these two do. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that's it. Those are the awards we've got for you today. We covered a lot of ground. We went long, so thanks for everyone hanging with us and staying with us. Thanks for staying on extra, Greg. But it was a fun session. Hopefully, this gives you some things to think about as you look forward to your digital strategies in 2026 and beyond. If you are interested in learning more about trends in the industry and how different software solutions compare to one another, our company, Third Stage Consulting, is not affiliated with any of the software vendors that we just discussed, but you can learn more about different software solutions in the market and trends by downloading our 2026 Digital Transformation and ERP Report. You can get that for free on our website. Just scan the QR code at the top of your screen here. We'll drop it in the chat as well. And I'd love to hear your feedback too. Those of you watching either now live or after the fact, we'd love to hear your feedback on these different categories, the different vendors that we've talked about, your experience with any of these vendors, the good, the bad, the ugly. That's what we try to draw out from these types of conversations. So thank you for that. And thank you to Carrie on LinkedIn, who says, well done, gentlemen, very informative. So I hope you all found it informative as well. And we'll look forward to doing another one of these award shows at some point in the future. So thank you, Greg, for being here. Thank you to the audience.
Thank you, Eric. Happy New Year to
Happy
you
New Year
and the
to you.
audience.
Absolutely. Happy New Year to everyone here. Hope you have a great holiday season, a great conclusion to your holiday season. And here's cheers to a great 2026 for all of us. So thanks for being here, and hope you enjoyed it. We'll be back next week, same time, same place. This interview will become part of the Transformation Ground Control podcast. So you're here part of the live production here of this podcast. We'll edit this video, we'll add some content to it, and we'll re-release it as a formal podcast episode here in a couple of weeks. So you can find that podcast by going to transformationgroundcontrol.com. You can also see all the past episodes of that show. And again, don't forget to download the 2026 ERP report right here. Scan the QR code. Hope you have a great day, great holiday, and we'll see you all next time. Take care, everyone.
Thanks a lot.